Hey, good morning. Episode 339. We are live. We're going to have a fun show today, talking a little conspiracy theories.
Yeah, NFL conspiracies.
Yes. Is it scripted? Is it not? Is it sports entertainment?
Yeah.
That would be kind of a fun one here. And then a few other fun stuff we'll start off with here. But of course, should probably get started with some ad reads going on here and that. So, Scott, do you want to start us off today?
Sure. Let me pull up the screen here.
Yeah.
Here we go. Team Titans Real Estate. Why? Because you matter. You know the spiel, but it's more than a spiel. Is that a spiel? Is that Laverne
Shamil,
Shirley?
Shamazel, Haas and Pfeffer Incorporated.
Da, 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 da.
We're gonna do it.
Yep. It's I talk every week about how we really put relationships first and it matters. And I'm going to give a great example that happened over the past weekend. Is I have a client we're looking for some houses for, and a lot of times with buyers, they think they know what they're looking for. They have certain criteria. And the more we interact with that buyer, the more houses we show, we're listening to the feedback we're getting about what they like and don't like. And if we're having troubles finding them something, a lot of times based upon my knowledge of the person, I'll set up my own search criteria for that person. And it may not fit the criteria they think they want. And over this past weekend, it was actually Sunday with the Lions were playing. I decided I'm going to do my own search for these clients and see what I can find. And this house came up that was gorgeous and it fit everything they wanted, but it wasn't in the traditional way. So it didn't fit their search criteria they gave me. So I call them. I'm like, hey, I think I found your next house. I think this is it. And it was about an hour and a half drive. It's not far from Lansing. And I'm like, the Lions are playing today. No one's going to be out doing showings. If we go out there now, we might be able to get an offering with no competition. So they're like, well, don't you want to watch the Lions? I'm like, I can listen to them on the radio. So had them on the radio, drove out there. They loved the house. It fit everything they needed and more. And they're like, yeah, we want this. So we rode up. I drove back. Jill was back here. So she was waiting for me to give a call. This is where the teamwork comes in. I'm like, Jill, they want to make an offer. So she started getting all the offer together while I was driving back. So when I got back, we could hurry up and get it submitted. And the offer was accepted. So we got them their dream house. But had I not taken the time, if Jill and I didn't take the time to get to know them through all of these times we've been together, I never would have been able to do my own customized search to find this house for them. So,
Right.
so it's just a lesson in relationship. It matters. We are experts in this field, and sometimes the X's and O's, so to speak, in football speak, maybe on paper don't fit the reality of what you need. So that's what we were able to do. So that was our success story for the weekend, and it's just been going really well. So if you want realtors who really do put their relationship with you first, we don't rely on AI to tell us what types of Facebook posts to make. We don't rely on AI to put fake images of ourselves up, fake headshots. Check out those realtors online. A lot of their pictures, they'll have six fingers. They'll have crazy stuff going on. We're not fake. You see me all the time here. This is me. Hashtag no makeup, no filter. But we're genuine. We're authentic. And we work hard for you. So give us a call. 586-232-5144 is our number. TeamTitansOfRealEstate.com is our website.
Yeah, you mentioned X's and O's real quick before I get into the next ad read. Elle King, who does that song X's and O's, is getting all kinds of backlash because she was drunk at the Dolly Parton tribute at the Grand Ole Opry, and she just screwed up everything she did on stage.
Oh, no.
So you said that made me think of that from the other day. I haven't seen that in the news. So X's and O's going crazy everywhere. But not at Loringer Family Chiropractic Center PC. They take great pride in providing the finest kind of chiropractic care to each and every patient, offering on-site digital x-rays, orthotics by foot levelers, young life essential oils, aromatherapy, full line of vitamins, all in a family-oriented environment. Give them a call, 734-697-4244, or visit them online here at Facebook. You can find them under Larger Family Chiropractic Center PC. You can call now, like, message, all that fun stuff. And as you know, Scott and I both talked about chiropractic care quite a bit. We both believe in it. It works. And it's a great way to contribute to your healthy and wellness.
For sure.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So we're going to be talking a little bit about the NFL conspiracy. If you're not familiar, we'll fill you guys in a little bit here. But before we start to show off, just kind of catch up on week. So I know Scott's been busy with his real estate. So he had the deal the other day and that. So
yeah, I was hoping to go out and see that movie ISS, International Space Station there.
Which bombed over the weekend.
Oh, it bombed. It did. And it might be horrible. But there's that one and The Beekeeper. I'm hearing good reviews on Beekeeper. It's just a good old fashioned, 80s style action.
And that Beekeeper I want to see. ISS I mentioned last week on the air. I don't really care to see. The trailer to me just looked very, and not to put this because it is a confined type movie, but just very confined where it's just like I'm watching going. It just doesn't feel like it's going to have a satisfying ending, in my opinion. But that's again just based on the trailer.
The comparison I heard from somebody who saw it was Crimson Tide. Was it Crimson Tide? The one with Denzel Washington and Gene Hackman. They said it felt very much like that movie.
That was okay because that was a submarine movie. Not as good as Hunt for Red October.
Correct.
Which is one of the Alec Baldwin movies I like.
I like Sean Connery in that one, right?
And Sean Connery was good in that one. And was it Sam? Oh God, from Jurassic Park. He was the main doctor guy. But yeah, there was good actors in that one, and it was a good solid story. Where the Crimson Tide one. I believe that was also based on a book, but it felt like it was really just trying to capture what that had done, and just didn't really go.
But
I mean, it was decent, but not great. But
neither movie compares to the all-time best submarine movie, Down Periscope.
Down Periscope was hilarious.
And my friend, who was stationed on a submarine for many years in the Navy, said Down Periscope is probably the most accurate Hollywood movie ever for a submarine movie. He said it's like extremely accurate.
It's not as serious as you think. So
it's a lot of fun. They play hard and work hard,
Well, you got to. I mean, sometimes they're out to sea for 6 months. You can't just be all business. I mean, you got to have a little fun. So, but I didn't go see any movies this weekend. I did watch a few stuff on TV. Finished up Reacher. Scott hasn't finished that up, so I'll wait till he finishes up. We'll cover that later. But they are filming season 3. I liked it. I was watching going, man, I wish I knew when season 3 would start. So I looked at it. I was like, okay, it's filming now, so probably the end of the year again. I just like it. I did watch the Tom Cruise Reacher over the weekend. I was like, okay, let me watch this. It's really not a good movie.
I remember seeing it originally, and I thought it was okay. It wasn't great. It wasn't bad. It was. If you were bored and you needed a Saturday
after seeing Reacher series and knowing that's how Reacher's supposed to be, I'm watching this going, okay, this is nothing Reacher. It's just they took this book option and it's a Tom Cruise movie. Same thing with I watched last night because I was like, okay, I wanted something to watch, and I was kind of fighting to stay up because I wanted to at least see the end of it, not because I was curious about how it was going to end. I was curious to see it through. As The Mummy. I never watched The Mummy with Tom Cruise.
Neither have I. So what's your critique of that?
It's a Tom Cruise movie. It was too much of trying to throw in all these heavy action stuff, running this and that. The kind of story was okay. How they tied it into England made a little sense with the Knights Templar. And it was a different mummy than from the Brendan Fraser movies. So I really felt like she was similar to the what could have been the High Priestess from then. But it just, there was ideas in there I liked, but it wasn't anything that really panned out because it was just too much of Tom Cruise. And I think that if they came from a different direction, almost where it ended, mixed it with stuff in between. I did like Russell Crowe, his character. He was Jekyll and Hyde, and how they kind of look. But I would like a little more of that aspect of it. So I almost wanted the story would have been done better if it wasn't trying to be this Mission Impossible-ish action Tom Cruise movie. Is how it felt.
They forgot what genre they were.
Yeah, and if they come into it almost like a National Treasure, from that aspect of finding the mummy or searching for something in the Curse of the Mummy being real. You tie it in. Oh, here's these. I mean, they're basically trying to tie in all the monsters. They were trying to build the dark universal monsters. Because I mean, there's one scene when he first meets Russell Crowe, and it's you can see like the head of a vampire, and there's all these other hands and things like that, all these different creatures, and basically, Tom Cruise becomes a creature, but he's not a creature; he's still a human. It's just I felt like it was just all over the place and wasn't as good a story as it could have been if they really concentrated on what the real story was there.
Like, I enjoyed the Brendan Fraser Mummy.
Oh, I love the Brendan Fraser.
I really enjoyed those. However, if they're trying to reboot their dark universe with all of their classic horror, I want it to be horror.
Yeah,
I want it to be horror. You can have lighthearted moments, but be a horror genre.
Well, and they tried.
Kevin Miner is a huge horror fan. Make a movie he will say, that was effing awesome.
Yeah, they try to incorporate certain horror elements.
Right.
But because you're doing too much over-the-top action, I think it takes away from that. And it just didn't feel very horror. That's where I think that if it had been more of a mystery involved with not the transportation of the mummy, which is the reason they ended up in England, from when they got it from, tying into this thing of finding all these Knights Templar graves in England. It felt like they were just trying to really do way too much there. But I think if it had been more of a thriller horror story, where maybe it started in England and you find this thing, but then if the Templar graves had actually led to them going and finding the crypt for the mummy and having everything take place there within a horror story would have been better. I mean, the mummy's going to be, all the classic mummy movies are not going to be your straight up horror like a Frankenstein or Dracula or just a vampire movie, stuff like that. They're always a little bit different, but if they dealt with the curse and built from there and then ended it similarly, with however the character, how he ended, and then set up for going forward, which I think they were trying to do. But it felt like that they were trying to make these movies like, okay, Tom Cruise was going to be the monster hunter, while also being a monster at the end himself in some ways, because he was, because he basically has got the mummy's curse on him.
Okay.
So I thought it was definitely not.
To me, if they were like how they were going more with the action route, to me, make a continuation of the Brendan Fraser then franchise, since people loved it so much, or go horror. But to start off with, and then you have the other problem too. Even if you wanted to go full on action like the Tom Cruise, get an unknown actor then, or a B-level actor who is really good that no one, isn't on the radar. You don't have the baggage of all the stuff. With Tom Cruise, you're going to get the running scene where he's coming right at the camera. You're going to have. We
got multiple ones of those.
Yeah,
and then we got the fact that he's very fit in this movie. And this movie's been quite a few years now.
Yeah.
And he was very fit. I mean, so you got to make sure they did shirtless, and showing the abs and stuff like that. So, so Jeff will comment on that once we get to that part. But thanks for putting that up there. But yeah, it's just, I just was, I've been wanting to watch for a while just for the fact that I constantly see this stuff in the horror makeup show at Universal.
Yeah.
Where they reference it. Makeup was good. They did a couple good scenes, stuff like that, but it just really felt, it just felt too Tom Cruisey.
Too much Tom Cruise, too little Universal horror.
Right, and I like that for the Mission Impossible because he's the one that started those movies up, and they were far enough away from the TV show that it didn't matter. And then it became his own thing through that. But I think if it had been a more of a lesser known actor, and I think if it had been more of like I said, in the vein of like a national treasure type thing where they're hunting for something specific, and tying in some of the stuff they had, there's a lot of great elements there. Going from there, but I definitely think the Jekyll and Hyde character was not developed enough, because when they introduced it right away, you kind of know it's like, okay, so he's Jekyll and Hyde. His name's Jekyll right away, so they give it away. But there was like no buildup of like, okay, so this guy's actually around. Why is he around? It's
actually, it sounds like it would have been better cut Tom Cruise out altogether and make Russell Crowe the lead as Jekyll, and start building the universe there. Or Tom Cruise can act like when he's, what's his name? Les Grossman, was it?
Yeah.
He was so different in that. Like, if you want to do this horror genre, it would have been a great chance for Tom Cruise to showcase himself in a way that we've never seen him.
Yeah, and there's been a few movies here and there that I like Tom Cruise in, where he's actually acted more than just be the Tom Cruise action star, but he does more of the action stuff. And, so it's I think it was definitely the miss there was they came in thinking they're gonna have this huge hit with a big name, and it's not. It's just like what we're talking about football. If you notice, most of the really top football players are not the first round draft picks. They're the guys that have fought hard to be there and want to be there and play hard. Look at Kelsey from the Eagles. Not the Taylor Swift one, but the other, his brother. He was not a top draft pick.
Also known as the sexiest man alive, according to People magazine.
Well, yeah, he took his shirt off at the game and was, I saw a thing there. I guess Mahomes' dad, they had to have, his wife had to have Mahomes' dad go and yell him to get back into the suite because he was out there. They showed him on TV more than Taylor Swift. He's shirt off, in this freezing weather out there. He's drinking a beer and he's cheering for his brother. And there's a little girl with a sign. He got climbed off the window, went down there. Picked up the one, took a picture with her sister, picked up the other one with the sign, walked her back up so she could see Taylor Swift, waved to her because his sign says I love T Swift, and which I think that's kind of cool. But he was having so much fun because unfortunately his season's over because as we get into the conspiracy theory, his colors were not in the logo.
Right.
Not this year anyway. So, but
next year.
Yeah. So I watched that. I've still been keeping up with the Percy Jackson series on Disney Plus. So I cut that up this morning. It's okay. I really feel like it feels so drawn out with all these episodes. There's 8 episodes. Next week's 8. Gotta be the final one. It's okay. I just feel like it's drawn out, and I'm sure it'll get renewed because they're putting a lot into it. But I have to go back and watch the movie they did a few years ago. Kind of compare that at some point. But other than that, really, I just kind of not been watching anything too much. Watched a lot of football over the weekend because we had some football games, and then bounced around just on YouTube a little bit here and there. So nothing big deal for me on watching stuff. So
yeah, I'm gonna switch my phone over. I think the internet's getting slow, which I don't understand because this building is like empty right now.
Well, it's because they have cheap internet. They do.
Well, no, he upgraded to the commercial high speed actually like 2 years ago, so that's what's
they may have too many computers running constantly that should be shut off,
maybe. So let me,
as well as when you put everything else on your internet, when you're dealing with cameras, like home rings, things like that, and then of course you got every printer, every computer, and if people aren't shutting their stuff down or they're leaving it up to run all the time, it's constantly just going to be pulling on the bandwidth. Right. And it'll only do so much. So,
well, I'm switched over now, so hopefully it won't slow down.
I hope so, man.
Now I'm on the cellular. Yeah. Thankfully, I have unlimited data.
So, besides real estate, what did you do this past week, Scott? Anything exciting?
It's not much. It's interesting because even when I have downtime now, the state of it kind of popped in my head when you mentioned the Percy Jackson. How I was like, it's okay. It feels drawn out. I was reflecting on that this week is whenever I had a little bit of downtime, everything is so mediocre on streaming lately. It's like I start stuff and it's like I get halfway through and then I'm like, do I even want to finish it? Like it starts feeling like work and it's like, maybe later. So there's just not much I'm getting excited for, though I am getting excited. We'll be touching on it later is the Bad Batch trailer came out. So I am excited for that.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about that later. Of course, football has been great. And, you talk about the Kelsey brothers. What I am finding myself loving is their little podcast clips, watching the two of them interact. And it's funny because, you were talking about Jason Kelsey being at the game cheering his brother. He was talking about how rare it is they get to be a fan for these things. So
right.
He got to be a fan, because they're working usually. So he got to enjoy all the fun stuff while his brother is still competing. But what really amazes me, and this is where fans need to maybe get some perspective. When their team loses, like their whole winter is ruined. Like these guys, they just lost. They're out of the playoffs. He's fine. He's talking about it. They're talking to other players that they go against, and it's like us at work. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh, remember that day? They're fine. They've moved on. Their winter isn't ruined.
Well, I'll tell you, it's I like the Kelsey brothers podcast. I haven't listened to a
Yeah.
lot of it. I like their clips.
Their
You know,
insight is interesting.
they definitely could. It's like I really think that Travis. Now they were talking about him retiring. He came back and said, "I haven't announced it." He was upset at the loss. He was upset with a few other things, and there was talk about okay, he was done. He's going to retire now because of his demeanor and all that. And then there was these reports saying he supposedly told all the players that he was done. And I think it's more his Jason.
Yeah.
Jason Kelsey. Yeah, I said Travis, but I meant Jason. And I think a lot of it was he was saying goodbye because they're like, "Hey, we're done for the season." It sucks because it also was a hard season for the Eagles for some of those players because they started off so strong and barely, realistically, you could say barely made it to the playoffs because of the fact that they really should have been with the same type of numbers that Baltimore has because they were playing that level of football, and something fell apart.
But he actually he talked about that on the podcast there. And what he said was, he never said anything to anybody. He thinks people are just reading his body language. He's like, I had a loss. He goes, now, am I considering? He goes, for the last 3 years, I've been considering it every year.
Right.
He goes, it's nothing new. He goes, but I would never make an an important decision like that based upon the emotions of a game. He goes, you want to give it times and do it properly so you thank the right people and blah, blah, blah. He goes, I don't know if I'm going to retire or not. I'm going to evaluate it with my family, with, my health and all that, and then make a decision. So
I think, though, when he does retire, he is somebody I'd love to see on one of the NFL programs.
Yeah, I would love to see him on there.
He is very insightful. He's well-spoken. He's got a great demeanor. He'd fit in great with the guys on Fox. I really don't care for the CBS guys as much. They feel very stiff, and you can tell there's a lot of animosity still between a couple of the quarterbacks on the CBS one from back in their playing days. It comes through a little too strong. But I like their podcast, stuff like that. The whole Taylor Swift thing, good for NFL. It's gotten them stuff. But I can tell you this, Lions had one of the highest viewerships, and Taylor Swift wasn't there. They were averaging about 40 million viewers for each of their last couple of playoff games, where the other games were all about 32 million. So it's the highest divisional series game in like 30 years for viewership. So that goes back to pretty much when people barely had cable.
Right. So if Kansas City wins and the Lions win, are we going to have a music battle at halftime, Taylor Swift versus Eminem?
Well, that's what everybody wants.
Halftime show.
Well, no, man, they've already announced the halftime show. The halftime show's already Usher. That's not going to change.
No,
and actually, though,
Taylor Swift versus Eminem.
Taylor Swift will not be at the Super Bowl because she's already scheduled to be in Japan the night before. So I doubt she would actually be able to fly back to see this. She might, but I think it'd be a little tough because I believe she's doing her Asian tour then. And so because I heard that on something a couple months back when they were talking about the Super Bowl if they made it, and that she's going to be on tour over there at that time.
Yeah.
So that would be, I think, a very difficult thing for her to make it at that. But Eminem, was trying to be there, and he's a Lions fan. He's been supporting the team and pushing for it, and he's very excited to see him on everything now. Huh?
You got Kid Rock and Eminem side by side.
Well, Kid Rock he hasn't really been out there as much. Eminem's been at the games.
Do those two even like each other?
I have no clue.
You never hear them talk about each other. So I wonder if there's some animosity there or if they like each other.
It could be just something where they both are just kind of like doing their own thing and not even thinking of the other.
Yeah.
But I know at the game over the weekend, Eminem was there. You had Jeff Daniels there. Bob Seger was there. So you did have a lot of Detroit legends in entertainment.
And of course, they did interview Jeff Daniels about the credit he deserves for the Lions' success, because ever since him and Peyton Manning broke the curse of Bobby Lane in the middle of the previous season, Lions have been doing well. And Jeff Daniels believes that the statue they're putting up of Barry Sanders is a good start, but they're going to need to put a statue of him up as well for breaking the curse.
Yeah. Well,
I went back and watched that again when they did that, when they broke the curse. It's so funny. And Daniels asked Peyton Manning, he goes, well, if this stuff works, why didn't you do this to put a hex on Bill Belichick? And Manning goes, no, Bill Belichick's dark magic is too strong.
Yeah. Well, let's get into this whole controversy thing there, or this
Yeah.
conspiracy here. I wanted to share this video real quick. This is a great video from back in an early beginning of the season. Keegan Michael Key, a fellow Detroit Lions fan, they did this thing, and they suppose they're going over the script for the NFL season.
Oh, okay.
And so I don't know if you've seen this. I came across this today. I had not seen this. So
Okay, we need something juicy for mid-season.
What if we replace the gritty with the sexy? Dexy. Sexy. Dexy. Come on, people. Sexy. Dexy. So sexy.
I think for my next celebration, I'll ride a Bengal tiger.
Can somebody procure me a Bengal tiger?
I got a guy.
My man. Okay.
What if we ban sex?
Woo!
What if we reveal that Tyreek Hill is actually part cheetah?
What if that Jimmy Garoppolo character fell in love with my character?
That's a
Steamy
Kelsey.
forbidden
it's
love.
Kelsey's mom.
Good-looking guy right there, Mom. I see where you're going.
Whoa.
What if I got a ring to match this ice?
Who's
Speaking
that?
of Super Bowl, let's skip to the last page. I've taken the liberty of writing something spectacular. Wait for it. And
I did not see this coming.
I know. Just think of the memes.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. So that was I was hilarious on that, and so it was and it was just like, oh my god, how timely is that with all this stuff about they're talking about now? So
Yeah.
but yeah, there's this here that we kind of got to go is the logo. The logo is what it is, and here's the current logo. And then let me see if I got all three here. This is some other videos I interested about this. Like, supposedly there's a Lay's commercial. The colors are the 49ers coming out of the Lay's bag, for the thing there. And then this guy was talking about something else with some other stuff on that. But yeah, this is one of the things here about the logo there, which is the purple and then a little bit of the red, which is the 49ers and the Ravens, which is what everybody's now predicting based on
And
the
this
logo.
was revealed at the end of the last Super Bowl, so it's a year in advance.
Yep.
And so are we just making stuff up? Well, they also have pulled up the previous, 3 years of logos? Let's
Yeah, I was
see.
trying to find if I find it there. I had it. I've lost the.
Let's see if I think I...
Yeah.
Is this it? Hold on. Here we go. I'll share this one.
Yep.
Present. So somebody went back and they pulled up the previous years, and dun dun dun.
Yep.
So
And now here's the thing with the colors. The team with the least color is the one that wins every year.
right.
So this year's logos, the 49ers, are scheduled to win according to the conspiracy.
Right. And then we even found one that was supposedly a leak, but you never know. This could be a lie. But based on
Yeah.
the colors there, certain teams may or may not be. But, we'll see after
Well-
this Super Bowl what the real logo is.
The colors we saw had a lot of green in it, and one of the things that was just happened the other day was on January 2nd, so a couple weeks ago, on the Pat McAfee show, Aaron Rodgers said he wants the Super Bowl 59 logo, that's next year's, to be jet green.
And
'Cause,
that is on the leaked one that we saw.
Yep. And then there was also another thing I saw. That's what one of those videos was. That's what was the script here. Let me see. Let me play it real quick. See if this is it. Is that it?
Who has teal though? See, like the one with the Eagles, to me, that's more teal.
Yeah.
Isn't that isn't there a team with a lot of teal?
Yeah. Well, there's a couple teams. I mean, it's
Yeah.
Miami.
Miami, that's what I was thinking. Miami.
So, but it's like a lot of this is from this. Here, we had this here up here. This you can kind of see it right in there. It's kind of hard to see there. But the what it basically says is from a TV station that shared. It said that Reba McEntire, Usher, and Post Malone are scheduled to perform at San Francisco 49ers Baltimore Ravens Super Bowl matchup on February 11th. This came out like a week or so ago.
Yep.
So this is part of what's really helped bring about a lot of this conspiracy stuff. Is this real? Besides the Aaron Rodgers thing,
Yeah.
but the it was also one of those things where I was trying to find the video here. I had a couple things. It was someone had shared on their and I don't have it. I lost the click here on their Twitter. back at before the game started or during the game. So someone shared on TikTok. He had shared that Aaron Rodgers was going to tear his Achilles, and they mentioned about when. And the post was like at 5:00 in the afternoon, and that was a Monday Night Football game.
Oh,
So,
so
and
it
so
happened
prior
before.
to it happening, saying that this was going to happen, and then a few hours later, their account was suspended.
Ooh.
So, did someone get a hold of the script?
Right. We don't
You
know.
know?
So,
But
what would be the motivation for cheating? There are real motivations if it was happening.
Well, here's something that we
Or
kind of talked about yesterday.
pre-scripting, I should say.
Yeah, pretty sure. One thing is this: is what has changed in the last 3 years in sports. That's been the biggest thing. Sports betting in a majority of the states. It
Right.
got legalized.
Right.
That's one thing there, and two is it's a
And you're
great.
talking billions of dollars.
Yes, and I believe that this is also a way for people to, in multiple states, to, that are tied into this conspiracy that, hey, we need to transfer wealth a certain way so it doesn't look, suspicious. But so if someone wins,
Right.
$30 million or $50 million or $100 million on a crazy bet at the beginning of the season,
Right. Certain politicians could be let in on the secret
Yep.
that need to get some money or whatever. Just like art. Art is another one where money is transferred because art is subjective. I could paint a picture, a finger painting that takes me 5 seconds and sell it to someone for $5 million. And really the $5 million is a bribe, but because it was to purchase art is subjective. No one can put a hard value on it. So that's a way they can transfer wealth. Same with betting. All you got to do is leak who's doing it. So it could be very much a real thing. When you have billions of dollars changing hands, the more money involved, the more fixing might take place.
Yeah. So, that's kind of my conspiracy on that is it's tied into the sports bet and how that took off towards COVID. And it seemed like some states pushed it through very fast when we were doing the shutdowns for that year and a half. And it was, sports betting has been big in Vegas and even Atlantic City for years, but the ability now to sit at home on your phone and now do all these bets. There's people that do it all the time. They sign up for whatever site they want. They do all these parlays or things like that. So it is big money from all the people doing it now.
And the real big money is the people who place bets at the beginning or a year before. They'll take bets on who you think next year's Super Bowl winner is.
Yeah.
And so if they announce a year in advance the Super Bowl logo and you're in the loop and it's pre-scripted a year in advance, for very little money, you can put money in and get a huge payout if you're right.
Right.
So
it's kind of like it's kind of like that. I didn't watch this, but I did watch that movie on GameStop, Dumb Money. The movie was just okay. I like the story behind it. That I think the story they showed was not what they should have been dealing with, but it's where people on Reddit and all that stuff basically went and started buying up GameStop. Really fell on one guy who believed in the stock, and then all those other people were going in, they were trying to stick it to the man, and that's kind of what it became this big, conglomerate, or collusion among people on social media. And that's what's going on here. We're seeing this big collusion, and because we're seeing so many different things happen in the last few weeks alone. That not just because we're Lions fans, because we've been through the tough times. We're used to the losing and being done by now. But seeing the win has just been the greatest thing ever because we're just enjoying it. But to see things like the bad calls at Dallas against the Lions to force a Rams-Lions matchup, which was a huge winner on the ratings, TV ratings.
Right.
To also seeing the Kansas City Chiefs game over the weekend and the guy getting a touchdown, and they've been showing it over and over since then, saying he should have been down at the 1 yard line and it shouldn't have been a touchdown. They kind of gave the Chiefs that win.
Well, even in our game, at the end, the other team should have tried to kick a field, called a timeout, and then forced the Lions to attempt a field goal. And everybody who watches, you always force the field goal, even if, because he's like, well, they would have just made it. You don't know that. They could have fumbled the snap. They could have dropped it. All kinds of, someone could have blocked it. all kinds of things could have happened. So
Yeah.
even on the Kelsey podcast, they were like, you always go for the kick. Why wouldn't you do that? You always do that.
Yeah.
Like, so everyone seems confused. Now that also leads to if the fix is in and the players are all part of the fix, because you would have to include the players, otherwise they might
Not
try to win.
necessarily. You might want to. This could be such a higher level that it's little things like, that could be just a guffaw that happened. Where
Yeah.
I mean, Goff he went down too soon. He should have held onto the ball a little bit longer, and then it definitely would have ran the timeout. But they had an extra few seconds of what would have happened,
Right.
And there could have been a chance that they could have actually got the
Right.
ball, did a Hail Mary, and then 2-point conversion or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think that the players aren't as involved. I think this is on an official level of the NFL as well as a referee level. And part of the reason the referees for that Lions and Dallas game are basically said, "Oh, you're not going to be a plus." They screwed up because they were a little too blunt in how they handled things, and that's my conspiracy theory on that. Is because the way they handled it, the league was like, "You guys screwed up. Everybody's focused on you now. You have to go."
And, so one business model we can look at for how this could work if you really were doing this is the WWE. They are pre-scripted, but the stunts are real. You're really slamming a guy on a mat. The mat is just wood under there. It hurts. If you jump off the top rope and you're 350 pounds, you're still a 350-pound guy going 14 feet through the air and landing on top of someone. That doesn't change. That's not fake. That's
the physicality is very real. Same thing in football.
The physicality is real. It's just the outcome is predetermined. However, because you are operating in a live action theater where everybody is witnessing at the same time, things happen. And in WWE, when unexpected things happen in real time, the referees are instructed to call it. Like if somebody accidentally pins someone else, the ref has to declare that person the winner, even if it wasn't in the script.
Right.
So they have to, because you're on a live stage, the ref has to improvise and acknowledge the reality of what actually happened. So a great example, there was this match, a Big Show, I forget who he was against, and it was like Survivor Series or something, and someone had to get thrown through a table. Well, when he stepped up on the apron, he was supposed to win that match. He stepped on the apron and he's getting ready to come over the rope like he usually does, and the guy drop kicks him. Well, Big Show lost his balance, steps backwards, the table's there, and he goes through. They had to call the other guy the winner, and Big Show just looks like stunned and stuff. And Vince McMahon supposedly was swearing at everyone in the back because that wasn't supposed to happen. But you're in a live theater, so football's in a live theater, so it is possible that
it's a lot of things
pre-scripted, but things happen.
Well, yeah, they have what they're trying to guide it towards, and that has to do with calls and things like that.
That's a great way.
But it's also things happening around. And the other big one was the Oscars. Marissa Tomei. They say, "Oh no, she won," but it's come out a couple times saying no, he was just rereading, and she was the first name on the list again. He didn't read the winner. He read the list of nominees and read her name first, thinking it was winner because he was drunk, and and so she won. And not saying she didn't deserve an Oscar for My Cousin Vinny. I like My Cousin Vinny. It was funny. I think she's a good actress, and that. But it's there's things that are going to happen that change outcome. Yeah, and WWE wrestling is definitely one of the big ones because again, things happen. Someone does something. There's been interviews over the years, like with Hulk Hogan, and all this, talking about, they'll be in the middle of a match and they'll say, okay, we're going to do this and this, and then we're going to change up this, knowing what they're supposed to do. Because they practice what they're supposed to do ahead of time, not physically, but so much mentally of where they're going to go. But sometimes some things are happening or the crowd's not in it, so they'll do an audible, basically, in wrestling to change up to get the crowd back into it.
Or sometimes someone gets the wrong person mad, and like Bret Hart, they call it the screw job, the Montreal screw job, where only one party knows the ending is, and the other one is completely blindsided, and people are mad. And so you have like the NFL. Is it pre-scripted or not? My honest answer is I don't care.
Yeah,
it's fun to watch. These are athletes performing at a high level. I don't make any money, win or loss. I'm not on the team. My paycheck doesn't matter based on their win or loss. So I don't care. It's fun to watch. I think football is, out of all the sports, there is no better slow motion sport. When you play football replays in slow motion, it's amazing how much is happening in those like 2 seconds of a play where you can see their eyes looking in slow motion, finding the hole, and as it parts and them getting through it. It's amazing what they do. And so I don't care if it's pre-scripted or not. I enjoy it. That's all that matters. I just hope if the fix is in for San Francisco versus the Ravens, I hope because the ratings have been so high for the Detroit Lions, I'm hoping the NFL will call an audible and say, you know what, this is too much of a story. We got
Well,
put
and with all the conspiracy theory stuff of the logo, stuff like that, I could see that happening. And
it could totally be legitimate too, where they are actually playing each other. The argument against it is any conspiracy, you got to keep it to as few people as possible who actually has the inside knowledge. Otherwise, it'll leak out.
Yeah.
And I would imagine it would be hard to keep. You would have to have, even on a small level, you're probably talking at least hundreds of people involved for it to be pulled off. So I would think it would leak out somehow. All you need is
possibly
one person mad, especially in this day of, people can do screenshots and secret recordings.
Yeah, but the amount of billions of dollars the NFL brings in all the way around. I think
money definitely
I think they're able to control it because basically some of these people are like, well, you don't want to lose this, and basically this became this times X, and they're getting more. But it's definitely I think an interesting thing going on. I think whatever happens this weekend will be key on that. If it is the Ravens and 49ers and they handily go through their stuff, it's kind of like, okay, maybe there is something there. And then if the 49ers win it all. But the 49ers last weekend, they barely beat the Green Bay Packers. Now, was it kept close for fun or for ratings or whatever, or was it just the fact that the Green Bay Packers came in going, we have nothing to lose, let's get out there and play hard? Lions have nothing to lose. You see someone like a Campbell and stuff like that. These guys are emotional, and that's why I feel like the players and the staff are not part of it. Because if they were, I don't know if they'd be as emotional as they are.
Right.
I think it wouldn't come across as genuine. So that's where I really think it's really on a very select level within.
Yeah, because these guys would have to be amazing actors to do that. So who knows? And even like on the announcer level, like I know in WWE, for instance, some of the announcers say they don't want to know what the script is, so that when they're announcing it, it sounds genuine.
Right.
And
I don't think I really think if it is a true conspiracy, I think it is at such a high level. We're talking like a Roger Goodell level and a few people within there, and then a few people within the referee thing, that they have a few key points. Like the guy that calls the bad things all the time against the Lions, or there's one there. I think he's in on it. The other ones may not be, because sometimes you watch these refs and they're arguing, on was there a penalty or not.
Right.
So
yeah.
And last thing, and they've changed with the refs. A lot of the calls have to be sent up to either the booth or / New York, and they make the final decision on that stuff, especially on reviews in the last couple of minutes of a game. And sometimes those reviews come back and it's not anybody on the field made that decision.
Right.
So.
Yeah. So all I know is I'm having fun. It's nice to have the Lions doing well. I've been very negative towards the Lions for many years, but it was always, I think we were clear in our critiques. We were always criticizing the ownership. And I do truly credit Sheila Hempford for,
and they gave her a lot of good props on the national broadcast last weekend. Yeah. They showed her how excited she was, and that's where I think it's not an owner's thing. I really think it's above that. I think it's what they feel is going to be the big draw, because they want certain teams, just like all the sports. When you have certain teams that make to the finals, and they're not popular teams, the ratings are down. Yeah. Right now, pretty much the whole country is like, oh my God, the Lions. This is like the Cubs year of 2016. Yeah, this is huge.
The last game was the highest ratings NBC had for any sport ever for NBC Sports.
Well, no, they've had higher than that. But it was the highest in 30 years just for the divisional series.
They reported highest for any sport when I was watching.
When I read this and everything I read was the highest divisional series in over 30 years. Keep in mind though, 30 years ago, not everybody had cable or multiple channels, and football was only on the national channels. They were not on streaming and everything else.
Right.
They had the highest on the streaming side ever.
Okay.
For
Well, maybe
sports.
that's what they were reporting.
And that's probably what they reported because they're making a big deal about Peacock. And of course, there's been higher rated sporting, especially Super Bowl stuff like that. But the last several years, a lot of those ratings were down, and to see them come back up is because there's actually something people were excited to watch. And God, people across the country are like, yeah, they may not be Lions fans, but they're enjoying watching it because this is the true Cinderella team that goes from not too long ago being 0-16, actually more than that, 0-25, I think is what they end up being if you cover the 2 seasons. But it's, to being 3 and, whatever they were the first year for Campbell, to now winning their division and now winning 2 home playoff games.
Yeah.
And a lot of props to the fans and everything else that have been there because they keep it loud.
A lot of people are saying the Lions are now America's team instead of the Dallas Cowboys.
Yep.
So
and that's not
cool.
just us saying it. It's been people nationwide saying it.
Well, Americans like underdog stories. That's why movies like Rocky do so well and different things. We like underdog stories. And with the Lions record, it's kind of impressive how bad they've been for so long. And the culture was changed from the top down between the owner, between Dan Campbell, the general manager. They declared what type of team they want, what type of culture they wanted, and they built it. And props to them for doing so. That was awesome that they did that, and we're seeing the payoff. And I think the other thing too is just the Lions have been releasing so much inspiration, like the locker room talk, the sideline talk, how Dan Campbell is, how the other guys are. And one of the things I was reading is a lot of players around the league are seeing this and they want to play for Dan Campbell now.
Yes.
So that's going to help our future where players might, there's a famous story with Gronkowski where he was supposed to be traded from New England to Detroit. And he's like, oh, hell no, I ain't going to Detroit. Yeah. So as soon as he heard that, he called the ownership or the whoever in the Patriots organization. He said, you can't trade me. I'm retiring this year.
Yeah, so I remember that.
Oh, and he lied. He wasn't retiring, but he told them he was planning on retiring.
That got out. He said he was going to retire, and it did come out that he was going to retire if they were going to trade him. He said, I'll just retire. Right. And basically would screw their deal up. So they had to back off of that. And he's retired a couple times and came back. I mean, he retired when Brady left because he said, well, I only play with Brady. Brady got him to come back to Tampa Bay and that stuff. And then when Brady's done, Gronk was done.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's but
now
it's great to see that people want to come play for Campbell.
Yeah,
but Campbell is such a genuine guy. He's one, he was a player. 2 is, as a coach, he talks about it. He's got this is what he expects. But what he expects is not such a hard demand. It's we're going to work on this together. And he's telling these guys we play together, we work together, we're all there together, and it's about together. And it's not just saying it, but then keeping himself distant from the team. He is right there in the trenches with those guys.
And literally, like in practice, he'll do the workout with the guys. He will do the calisthenics and everything that they're doing, and he'll be sweating alongside of them. I mean, the guy's a beast. What we looked it up. What is he? 6'5" and like 265 pounds. Like the guy's a beast.
At 47 years old, he could probably suit up and play.
Yeah, well, and that leads me to we just off topic. I'm like, I really hope we see for some reason Dan Campbell suit up and we see him on the field. I would love that. Yeah,
and then I reminded Scott that sounds just like the longest yard plot.
Yeah. Well, if the NFL is scripted,
it's not going to happen. But yeah, I do love the fact that a lot of players have come on, especially ones that have been done. It's like, if I went to the Lions, I'd love to play for a Campbell type player because he really does. He knows football. He's smart. He knows the teams. The other thing is he's also gives praise to where praise is due. And they keep talking about losing his coordinators after this year because it happens. He's got 2 an offensive defensive coordinator, both really.
Ben Johnson will probably be gone. He'll probably be head coach.
And
somewhere.
he talks about how much, and he tears up a little bit. Like, I don't want to get into it right now because we've got too much to worry about. But he goes, those guys are great. They're right there, and they handle it.
The good news for the Lions is Ben Johnson's the offensive coordinator. Dan Campbell is an offensive guy. He understands, so he has his hand a lot in there. So it will be a loss for our team, Ben Johnson, if he gets hired somewhere else, which he probably will. But Dan Campbell's still the heart of the offense still. So I don't think that hurts us as bad as if our defensive guy left. And from what I'm hearing, he's going to be doing interviews, but they don't think he's going to actually go.
I think it depends, because it might be somewhere he really wants to stick around because to build up his
resume.
Basically his resume. It's not a resume, just how much his value.
Yeah.
So,
but from a mentality standpoint, I think if I was, I mean, I've obviously never played for the NFL, but if I was this huge physically fit guy playing top of the game, the last thing I want is some little out of shape guy telling me what it takes to be successful. Like, wait a minute, you can't even do 4 sit-ups. Like, you're going to tell me what to do? Like, you know what I mean? But Dan Campbell can do it. He's like, oh yeah, I'll do the up downs with you. Let's go. So I think there is a respect physically too. When you're
I think that, and that's what the Lions needed, was someone to come in with that mentality of, I don't want to hear you don't want to do it, can't do it. You know, let's go and do it, and I will outdo you. Right. So he makes them want to earn everything, because you don't want your coach being better than you.
Yeah. So like back in college, for instance, when I did crew, our coach was insane. Coach Mike wore shorts all the time, even when we had to do our 6-mile runs in January in blizzards and ice. He'd be outside in shorts running with us. Mm-hmm. And he's like, listen, I will never ask you to do anything I'm not willing to do myself. And it pushed us to do things we would, had he just been sitting at home saying, yeah, go do your run, we would have been like, screw you. But he's there. And he was terrifying. He actually went on. Years later, he became the strength and conditioning coach for our special forces. Oh, wow. So I think we were his guinea pigs.
Probably were. Yeah. Well, last thing on the thing here is this guy here shared a different logo than you and I saw.
Oh.
And he's talking about for next year's the stuff here. So I'm going to play this real quick.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am in absolute shock. Now, I can tell you, I can't confirm that this is real, but I will say that I ended up getting sent this from an anonymous source. Okay? The Super Bowl logo for next year. At first, I was just like, maybe not, but then I ended up seeing the New Orleans skyline, in which where the Super Bowl will be hosted, blue and yellow. What does this mean? What 2 teams? Is this Buffalo Bills and Los Angeles Rams?
Nope.
In 2025 in New Orleans? Is this Pittsburgh Steelers?
Nope.
And New York Giants? If this Super Bowl logo theory conspiracy holds true, and if this logo is real, I honestly don't even know what to think anymore. Sound off and let me know your.
Yeah. So with that, my thought is this: if that is the logo, that is the Chargers with new head coach Harbaugh from University of Michigan going for his thing versus the Detroit Lions. That looked Lions. That looked a little more Honolulu bluish.
To me, that looked purple.
It does look purple. I think it's just his coloring in that, but he says blue. So
what
if it is
the
blue,
one we found before?
It was green and it was a blue.
Green,
but the green we were speculating either Seattle Seahawks or the Jets. But with the Harbaugh talk,
was saying the skyline was New York, wasn't in the one we found.
Yeah, but it had the Jazz player on it.
For New
and
Orleans.
This one actually has the Superdome and stuff like that, because that's where the Super Bowl will be next year. It's down in New Orleans. So I really think that if that was true, then I really think it would be Harbaugh, and then possibly I'm gonna say the Lions because I'm a Lions fan, but it could be more purplish, where it could be Minnesota or even the Ravens again. So
could be.
Of course, with the blue, it also ties into the Chargers having a little blue in there as well as the gold.
Yeah, that's the hard part with the whole logo conspiracy. Now, if you were sending signals, you could do that. But from an outsider, let's say I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go place bets based on this logo this next year. There are so many teams with blue or purple or shades of blue. There's so many teams with yellow. I mean, New Orleans Saints, they're a form of
gold. They're black and gold, yeah.
You know, so it's like, who knows? There's too much.
Of course, the purple
There's
and
too
yellow
many
is
scenes with
just
crossovers.
purple and yellow is still just a generic thing for New Orleans anyway. So
Right. So
for the Mardi Gras stuff like that. So it'll be interesting to see though. I think it's a fun topic we've had with that today.
it's a fun topic.
And we'll see what happens. Go Lions on Sunday. I'll be at Disney that night. I get into Disney. I don't know if I'll catch much of the game, but I mean, not that I couldn't, but I'm going to Disney. So
I'm going Disney.
yeah. And the last thing is, let's do the trailer for the Bad Batch.
Oh
So-
yeah, I have yet to see this, so I'm
All right.
excited to see this.
Hold on! We've got troopers up top. We're running out of road!
Not exactly a stealth exit, boys.
Let's move!
I thought that the end of the war would mean an end to losing more of our brothers. But I was wrong. We can't just walk away. Not with the Empire imprisoning the kid. Secure her in a cell. Omega's been waiting for us a long time. Our mission is not over yet.
There is nothing of greater importance to secure the future of this empire. Whatever is needed to accomplish this goal, you will have it.
They are coming. For all of you.
Give us a real challenge. Everyone down!
We're not big on following orders.
I wasn't planning on killing you, but you're making it very tempting.
Nice.
Yeah, they're doing a 3-episode premiere, which is cool. Excuse me. Saj Ventress though looks quite different to what we're used to, and so I looked this up.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, her story takes place between when we last saw her to then in this book, Star Wars: The Dark Disciple. Even though it is I still think it's considered a Legends book because it came out several years ago. I don't know how it ties, if it was ever canon, but that's Quinlan Voss, the Jedi there. Yep. But then her lightsaber is also the yellow, which shows she's no longer Sith side or even light side. She's center, which is what Rey is. So there's a lot of speculation that some of that is going to tie into the future Rey movie, but that's still speculation. But yeah, so you can see with the hair here, her hair in this image here on the book is similar to what they have in the show there.
Yep.
So I'm excited about that.
I'm excited for it. Once again, Filoni's finding ways of getting, because I don't think we've had Ventress in anything canon. I don't.
Well,
think.
Clone Wars. Clone Wars is canon. The animated series is canon.
It is canon. She was in that. Okay.
Yep.
No,
she is canon, but
I'm sorry. But pre that, this is before or after that?
After. Well, Clone Wars is
before.
While it's still considered canon, it was before Disney bought them, because Disney buying Star Wars, they ended the Clone Wars. They did that last season that we saw a couple years ago, so kind of finish up, basically set up the story for Ahsoka. But they've considered that canon because they went into Rebels. Right. We did not see her in Rebels, but she was already with the witches. From Clone Wars, they never said what happened to her. Supposedly she, in Dark Disciple, supposedly she died in that. But so this takes place post Clone Wars, of course, but I don't know if it's prior to or after the book. So the book could actually be her final thing, or they're just drawing from the book the elements he wanted to continue her story on.
That's what I suspect.
Yeah,
because I think Filoni's going to want to turn her into something more.
Yeah. Well, she's always been a popular villain.
Oh yeah.
So
She's been a great villain. Love it. Love the character. And Filoni's masterful at how he incorporates the stuff all the time.
Right.
I also like the crossover. Like he's so good at like if you notice, like the gun towers. Those are the same gun towers that are on the Death Star that are trying to shoot the thing out. So he's starting to blend in stuff from the original trilogy. He's starting to incorporate. So you're starting to see the crossover from the Clone Wars era into the original trilogy era, and how the technology is evolving. So I like that.
And that's just what Bad Batch did. Really, it showed the transition from clones to stormtroopers.
Yep.
The change from the Republic to the Empire, the looks, the style, coloring, everything. So it's been a great ride. It's a shame it's only 3 seasons. At the same time, I'm glad they're wrapping up the story and not trying to drag it out, because they have other stories I know he wants to tell. So.
And the other part where Filoni gets what Lucas was doing with Star Wars is Star Wars has this huge saga happening, but at its core, it's always about family. And Filoni's doing that here with the Bad Batch is a family, and their sister is being held captive, and they need to get her. It's family centric all the time, and he gets it.
Yep.
So that's really awesome.
Yep, a 3-episode premiere in about a month, so looking forward to that. And then they'll have an episode a week. It's 15 total episodes, so they'll go over 12 weeks. So it's gonna be a good till the end of April. So, and then the last thing I have here is
Crimson Shadows. Just want to remind everyone we are launching next week on the 30th. So Tuesday the 30th will be launching. The pre-launch page is up. Click the link that I just posted and click that little green button that says "Notify me on launch," so you'll know exactly when we go live. We have 49 followers right now, so that's awesome. And we're looking forward to this. It's a really
and then
big feat that we've accomplished here.
And Scott, Kevin, I've said put all the work on the inside of it. We all three will have covers available as options.
Yep, multiple covers.
So if you like Scott over me, or me over Scott, or Kevin over both of us,
or
you can choose one of their covers.
All of them. Buy all the covers.
Yeah. Because they will be limited. My cover, Kevin's, we'll have one that'll continue on, but some of the covers will only be limited through a little bit past the Kickstarter, so we may not have many available for shows.
We have 5 covers, 4 that are soft cover versions, and 1 that's a hardcover version.
Yep.
So excited for all of those, and can't wait to get this out to everyone. I haven't even been able to see Brett in person, so he hasn't even seen the physical copy, but it's so nice to see in person the hard work that the 3 of us and our guest artists that we've had along the way too have been. It has come out so good, and we will put this up against anything Marvel or DC has put out. It's quality. It's really
I think everybody will enjoy this. Enjoy the enhancements that have done to it with the additional pages and everything else. So even if you read the issues, which we still have some issues available, you can buy the individual issues for a limited time still. But with the trade coming out, those are we've been going through and we're almost out of them anyway. So
but the issues will be available through the add-ons.
Yep.
So you can do that. We have other merchandise available: enamel pins, bookmarks, prints.
And keep in mind, all the individual issues are first edition prints of those issues.
Yes.
So they are first printings. They are not reprints. They are not printed on
Never
demand.
to be printed again.
So never to print them again in that way. So we've got some of those, and some have already sold out. So
unless someone offers $1 million, then I'll print
they'll be
something.
reprinted by a studio that wants to pay for it.
But even then, it will say second printing in it. It won't say first print.
Yeah, or it'll say first edition for a company or something like that.
Yeah.
So they can do that.
Yeah,
too.
if McFarlane wants to pay us a lot of money, we'll let him. Reprint.
That'd be nice. Yep. Hey, I won't be here next week. Scott will let y'all know if he's going to be able to do a show next week.
I'll definitely pop on. We'll talk some Crimson Shadows because that'll be the first 24 hours there. So I'll do that, and
then I'm back in 2 weeks, and then so I'll have some updates, some pictures, things like that, and then I know we'll do it after I go see it on the 10th. But you and Jill are seeing Wicked pretty soon.
That's in February.
Yep, that's coming up in a couple weeks here. So I see it the week after you guys do. So we'll talk about that production in Detroit too.
And I want to hear what I'm really excited about with your return from Florida will be your first time experiencing Galaxy Edge, right? You're going.
Yes. Yep, I'm gonna have a couple days there. I have a Sunday, and then I've got a Wednesday plan there.
I'm very jealous.
So I will be definitely spending a lot of time there.
That's awesome. Can't wait to hear your account of the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to get all the rides in, so I'll let you know how the rides go. So,
Awesome.
But hey, I'll see y'all in 2 weeks. Bye.